The latest target for the Bharatiya Janata Party's renaming zeal is Rajpath, with the government deciding to call the iconic stretch which runs from Rashtrapati Bhavan down to India Gate Kartavyapath or Duty Road. The renaming of the road, which is paved with bad intentions, is not just a cartographic act. On September the 7th, the unelected New Delhi Municipal Council, which is packed full of BJP members, will convene a special meeting to rubber stamp the name change. And when Kartavyapath is formally inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on September the 8th to mark the completion of the first stage of his government's controversial Central Vista makeover project, the speech he delivers will make the agenda clear. Known as Kingsway during British rule, the road was renamed Rajpath, or State Road, after independence. Together with Janpath, or People's Road, formerly known as Queensway, which bisects it in the middle, the two avenues defined in spatial terms the new republic's social contract, in which sovereignty now vested in its citizens. Overnight, these sovereign citizens quickly reclaimed the Central Vista that was framed by these central axes as their own. And until 2019, they congregated at will on its vast greens to picnic, to play, walk, and eat ice cream at all times of the day and night, restrained not by some official diktat or boundary, but mostly by the vagaries of the weather or the availability of transport. All of that, sadly, now comes to an end. Duty Road has little room for free citizens. In his Independence Day speech last month, Prime Minister Modi sidestepped growing demands on the government to fulfill its end of the social contract and instead laid great emphasis on people fulfilling their duties. Exhorting citizens to be dutiful is a staple of authoritarian statecraft and was actually first enshrined in the Indian Constitution by Indira Gandhi during the emergency. Since then, governments which have faced criticism for disregarding the rights of the people have frequently resorted to reiterating the importance of duties. The renaming of Rajpath as Kartavyapath or Duty Road represents a further symbolic escalation of the official attempt to emphasize duties over rights. That this namkaran is to be accompanied by a shuddhikaran or cleansing of sorts, in which ice cream vendors will be restrained from plying their carts and picnics will be forbidden on the greens still available for people to access, should hardly surprise us. The renaming itself is not without a sinister dimension. Rights in a democratic polity are, in the final analysis, a claim against the state, which is constitutionally enjoined to ensure that citizens are not deprived of them. The name Rajpath could thus be seen as a symbolic reminder of the fact that the state and its institutions, which were located alongside it, had legitimacy only to the extent to which they upheld people's rights. On the other hand, the concerted new push to emphasize duties, which the Orwellian name Kartavyapath symbolizes, places the burden for governance on the ordinary citizen. It lays the blame for problems at her door and deflects attention conveniently away from the responsibility of the state. Of course, earlier renaming exercises also had a political agenda driving them. In 2015, Aurangzeb Road in Delhi became APJ Abdul Kalam Road, and Hindutva fanatics have now set their sights on renaming Akbar Road and Humayun Road. Racecourse Road, where the Prime Minister's official residence is located, became Lok Kalyan Marg, or the Road of People's Welfare, though many have questioned its appropriateness. Teen Murti Bhavan, where the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library is located, has been rebranded Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya in honor of a monstrous spaceship-shaped building erected in defiance of the country's heritage laws, which now houses the Museum of Prime Ministers. Earlier, Pragati Maidan was also witness to urban vandalism when the Modi government tore down the landmark Hall of Nations Pavilion and other structures and erected an enormous building that looks like a pile of shipping containers. The BJP in Uttar Pradesh has changed the name of the historic city of Allahabad to Prayagraj, and more changes are on the anvil in all states where the party is in power, especially UP, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. There is, of course, a more sinister undertone to the name changes there, with BJP leaders who take a cue from Modi's reference in 2014 to 1200 years of slavery, equating the Mughal era or other Muslim names with symbols of colonialism. The idea clearly is to gradually erase visible traces of Muslims in India. Now, unnamed official sources told the Press Trust of India that the renaming of Rajpath is, quote, also a message to the ruling class that the era of rulers and subjects is over, unquote. This astonishing claim is at odds with the growing power of the state over the lives of people in terms of food habits, freedom of expression, law enforcement, and what have you, not to speak of the cult of personality surrounding Prime Minister Modi, which has turned even the BJP organization into subjects, and the massive growth in wealth of the ruling class that has taken place on his watch. Even in terms of urban design, India is unique among major democracies in providing ministers and top officials with huge bungalows in the center of the national capital at public expense. Indeed, by planning the Prime Minister's official residence right on top of Raisina Hill, Modi has actually reinforced the power of the ruler over his subjects in exactly the same manner as the colonial authorities had done in their vision of the capital. As Pilar Maria Guerrieri notes in her book Negotiating Cultures, Delhi's Architecture and Planning from 1912 to 1962, power in New Delhi radiates down from Raisina Hill. And I quote, "The arrangement of the housing followed the accepted customary rules of power. Europeans with more prestigious and exalted roles were placed in the greatest proximity to Raisina Hill, and as the social status of the inhabitants decreased, so did their proximity to it. Indians who did not work within the government apparatus lived in settlements set within a rigid grid of roads at a considerable distance from Raisina Hill and even from New Delhi itself," unquote. It is this spatial privilege which separates the ruler from the subject and defines the unequal essence of the city, not the names of roads and streets. Look at the map of a plan for the distribution of bungalows in New Delhi by the city's colonial planners, for example. This map was made in 1920. Even though the names of the roads and the color of the occupants have since changed, the bungalows all remain. There is no question of Modi doing away with these ugly symbols of colonialism, asking our ministers to find their own housing, as in other democracies, and putting the green expanse and buildings freed to more socially productive use by the subjects. No. All he has in mind for the people of India is Kartavya. The city is for the state and its functionaries, who will decide when, where, and in what quantity the people who have a duty to obey authority can congregate. This, dear viewers, is the real story behind Kartavyapath.